Hey everyone, and welcome. Our senses are our link to, well, everything. They're how we experience our entire lives. But have you ever stopped to think about how that actually works? So today we're going to follow the incredible journey of a single sensation, from the outside world all the way into your brain. All right, let's get into it. I mean, really think about it for a second. That amazing smell of your morning coffee, it isn't literally floating around inside your head. And the warmth of the sun on your skin isn't physically touching your brain cells. So how on earth does the physical world get translated into a thought, a feeling, a perception? That's the huge question we're unpacking today. Okay, so first things first, we need to meet the ground crew. Your body is equipped with this amazing team of super specialized sensors. They're on duty 24/7, just constantly gathering data about what's going on outside of you and inside of you too. And what's really cool is just how much stuff this toolkit is collecting. We all know the big five, right? These special senses like seeing and hearing. But we also have this whole other suite of general senses. That's the somatosensation part that tells us about everything from the firm pressure of a handshake to the temperature of a nice cold drink. It is a complete toolkit for experiencing reality. And this is where it gets really wild. Our toolkit is not the only one out there. Sharks, for instance, are custom-built by evolution. They can sense the tiny electrical fields that other animals give off. It's basically a superpower that's perfect for finding hidden prey in their world, but, not so useful for us walking around on land. It just shows that our senses are perfectly tuned for our life. So, our sensors are ready to go. Let's start the journey. The very first step, the absolute beginning of any sensation, is called reception. This is that moment of first contact, when something from the outside world actually meets your body. Reception is really all about one thing: activation. A stimulus, could be light, could be pressure, could be a chemical. It hits a sensory receptor and basically wakes it up. And every single one of these receptors has its own little patch of turf, its receptive field. It can only detect things that happen right there in its specific zone. And get this, the size of these fields can be just mind-bogglingly different. For you to feel a touch, something has to physically hit a receptor in your skin. That's a tiny field. For hearing, maybe you can hear a sound from across the room. But for vision, your receptive field can literally stretch across galaxies. You can detect light from a star that's millions and millions of kilometers away. It's just incredible. Okay, so a receptor has been activated, but how does that signal even begin its trip to the brain? This next step, transduction, this is where the real magic happens. See, the outside world speaks in all these different languages: light, pressure, chemicals. Your brain, though, it only speaks one language: electricity. Transduction is the process of translating between the two.
So this is the absolute key. Sensory transduction is this fundamental act of conversion. It takes a physical thing, a photon of light hitting your eye, a sound wave shaking your eardrum, and it transforms it into the only language your nervous system gets: an electrical signal. Seriously, without this step, nothing else can happen.
So how does this translation actually work? It's simpler than you think. Let's use pressure as our example. First, the stimulus arrives. It physically pushes on a receptor. Second, that push actually bends the receptor's outer wall. Third, that bending motion forces these tiny little gates, called ion channels, to pop open. And finally, charged ions rush through those open gates, and that flow of ions is the brand new electrical signal. A physical push becomes a spark of electricity, just like that. Now, this first electrical spark has a special name, the receptor potential, and it has one really important feature. It's what we call a graded potential. Graded just means its size isn't fixed. Think of it like a dimmer switch, not an on-off switch. It can be a big signal or a small signal, and its size depends entirely on how strong the original stimulus was. And this makes perfect sense, right? A hard push on your arm feels totally different from a gentle brush, because that stronger push creates a bigger, more powerful receptor potential. The lighter touch, it creates a smaller, weaker one. The signal itself contains information about the intensity of the event, right from the very beginning. So, we have an electrical signal, which is great, but it's still pretty raw. How does the brain read this signal and figure out not just that something happened, but exactly what happened, and where, and for how long? Well, this is the process of encoding. Think of this electrical signal like a detailed report being sent to headquarters. For your brain to make any sense of it, that report needs to answer 4 key questions you see right here. What was it? Where was it? How long did it last? And how strong was it? All of this info is cleverly packed into that electrical signal. Now this part is really cool. How the brain decodes something like intensity. Let's use sound as an example. A quiet sound, that's a weaker stimulus. It causes your neurons to fire off signals at a slower rate. But a really loud sound does two things. It makes the neurons fire way faster, and it activates a much larger number of receptors to begin with. The brain reads both of these clues, the speed of the signals and how many signals there are, to figure out loudness. Okay, we've come a long way. Our signal has been created, translated, and encoded with all this rich information. It's time for the final leg of the journey, its arrival in the brain, where this electrical code finally becomes what you and I call reality. Let's follow a signal from the eye, just as an example. The electrical message zips down the optic nerve and makes a critical pit stop at a place called the thalamus. You can think of the thalamus as the brain's central sorting office or its main relay station. From there, the thalamus sends the signal to its final destination, the visual cortex, a specialized zone at the back of your brain that only deals with vision. This is where the electrical code is finally pieced together into a coherent image. So after all that, what's the big takeaway? It's this. And it's kind of a mind bender. Your brain lives in complete darkness and silence inside your skull. It has never, ever directly seen or heard or touched the world. Your entire reality is a story, a detailed, complex, electrical story written by your senses and read by your brain. Everything you experience is just an interpretation of these electrical signals. Pretty wild to think about, isn't it?